but no big deal. We're going to talk about WandaVision episode 4. Before I say that, though, guys, remember, please follow, go on YouTube, like, subscribe. We each have our own little Instagrams. Find us there. Um, but usually we talk about like positives and negatives of this videos and stuff, and it's not really any negatives again with this week. Um, but we did learn a couple of things, and I'm just gonna name those off real quick and then pass it on. So we learned one that this happened after Endgame. This is three weeks, maybe 4 weeks after Endgame. Then we have Westview is not in anybody's mind. It's not in Wanda's mind. I was completely wrong. It's not in Vision's mind at all. But it's a made up. It's not a made up town. It was a kidnapped town, by Wanda. Three, the people are not agents. Again, going back to number two, the people aren't agents. They're all just kidnapped people. We saw where the helicopter came from, which was cool. The beekeeper, we saw what he was doing. Um, One of the cool things that Matt said is that it's not AIM, unfortunately, but if you saw Jimmy Woo, you saw him writing something about why hexagonal shapes, so that was kind of cool. Um, then the last heartbreaking thing is we learned that Vision is dead, unfortunately, right? And but yeah, that's what we learned. One of my things there is I don't know if Wanda. I think she's like going through the stages of grief. Like I don't know if she really, really is in denial to the point where she doesn't know that she kidnapped the town. She does know, and she doesn't know. She can like her reality is breaking. Like so whenever Geraldine said something about Ultron, it broke. She remembers. She kicks her out, fixes everything, and then she goes back into denial and doesn't remember anything. And she thinks that she's in a town. I don't know, but other than that, that's what we learned. And I'm going to leave it up to Carlos to tell us what he thought.
Yeah, so the very first, right off the bat, what I loved is that we got uh, a callback to Endgame, and the fact that the show started off with everybody coming back from the blip, and that's how we got the introduction into who Monica really is, and official confirmation within the show of who she is. And I thought that was an absolute great setup, and it really set up the pace for the overall show as well. It just didn't let up, and I really enjoyed that. What I also enjoyed is that right from the beginning, we also got acknowledgement that Sword exists within the MCU, and it felt seamless the way that it was done. You didn't have to wait for 5 6 episodes to get that introduction to see what they're all about. It was concise, it was quick, but it was effective, and I love that. You already start getting a feel as to what this organization is all about, what they do, why they exist. So I really enjoy that. I also got to say that so far my favorite unexpected uh, introduction, even though it was teased, and we saw it in promos, I still love the fact that Jimmy Woo and Darcy were brought into this show. I mean, complete side, not even B characters, like C, characters, but the fact that they were brought in a way that makes sense, and the way that they incorporated why they're even there and why they're part of this team that's trying to figure out what's happening to this town. I loved it. I thought that was great, and it gives you a feel that the MCU really is this, um, I guess, almost living, breathing, universe, and that you know Marvel doesn't forget about these characters, and it just makes everything feel cohesive, and everything feel like you know um it exists, basically. And that's really what I loved about Jimmy Woo and Darcy being brought in. The other thing that I really enjoyed about this episode was the focus on uh, the investigative part, right, of what's happening. And it's almost like, again, Jimmy Woo and Darcy and the whole sword organization almost kind of took us, the viewers place in trying to figure out what's happening, and you saw that with the questions that Jimmy Woo was writing on the board, and I thought that was a great callback to all of the theories and all of the questions that us as fans have been having. So that was really well done for me. And I gotta touch on the chemistry as well. I've mentioned that the chemistry between Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany has been amazing, and I gotta say that the chemistry between Darcy and Jimmy was it was just awesome, And I like that. Just the overall character interactions between everybody just feels great. Um, the last thing that I actually want to touch on is the attention and uh, the overall, um, I guess, importance that Marvel placed on making the show and the production value feel like you're actually watching an MCU movie. When Wanda uses her, powers, you felt like you were watching an MCU movie. It did not feel watered down whatsoever. And some of the things that we were talking about in the earlier episodes was that when we started off with the 50s and then jumping into the 60s, that it was black and white, and then you got that 70s type of feel. In this episode, you got that MCU production value, that those camera angles. And I think that instead of that transition feeling jarring, it added to that idea that the people of Westview and what's happening there really is this break from reality. And I thought that was effectively well done, and I gotta give him props for that. You definitely see where a lot of the budget and a lot of the money went, and you first start seeing that in this episode. um Oh, and actually, the last thing that I do want to mention was my favorite part and my favorite Easter egg was that Jimmy Woo learned how to do the card trick that he was trying to learn from Ant Man, in Ant Man and Wasp, and that to me, it's just little things like that I enjoy. From the moment that his character gets introduced, callback. So that was my take on my likes, and the only dislike that I have was that it felt short. It leaves you wanting for more. It leaves you wanting to watch that next episode, and I love that. It gives you time to digest, talk about what happened. But you know, it's it's a positive dislike, I guess. But other than that, man, I thought everything was great. But yeah, Carlo, your thoughts?
All right, Carlos, you stole my thunder. What I agree with whatever you said. I was going to say basically what you said, but to add to that, what I liked was that it starts off with a curveball because you saw 50s, 60s, 70s, and obviously you're expecting like an 80s version, but they start off with a blip. It's like, oh, whoa, that's like a curveball. I wasn't expecting that. So I really enjoyed that. And I also like that the show provides like all the answers, but you're still invested in the story. You still want to know what's going on. Like there's no more like there's the biggest surprises, like where this takes place, when this takes place, and what's going on with this Westville. Those questions are answered, uh, but it leaves you wondering who's going to be the villain. What's going to happen with Wanda? Is she going to snap out of it? How is she going to snap out of it? Is she going to go like the Dark Phoenix route and go fucking berserk and crazy and like kill somebody? Uh, I have theories which I'll hold off after. What I also liked was the explanation for the helicopter because I was like, how is this in play? And then the drones was a nice like way of explaining that part. I liked how like the radio call out was explained because it just doesn't give you like the answer like, oh, this is how it happened. Like they show you what was going on in that world. And also yeah, I like that Jimmy's in this episode, like he's really involved. So I'm thinking, is Yellow Claw going to be involved? I'm thinking, is Monica, I mean not Monica, Maria Rambo, is she going to come back from the dead? Oh, I'm going into theories. But that's what I'm like thinking, like they're spending a lot of money trying to, well, they are they're spending a lot of money to tie it into the MCU, and I expect that's going to continue, like really tying into the MCU. And I believe that we haven't seen the budget being spent because we know how much money it, this is costing, but we haven't seen the money in action yet. So we're all excited about that. What else did I like? Oh yeah, I also like that card trick, Jimmy. I totally forgot about that card trick from the Ant Man and Wasp. I was like, oh yeah, that is true. So that's another nice little thing about that. And zombie vision. that that was so badass. Like I was like, oh man, he is dead. And we also expected that. But yeah, it was a nice like special effect trick. And it wasn't like overdone, it wasn't watered down, it was just right. Like they didn't show like worms. They didn't overdo it, and they didn't show him like, oh, I'm like I'm out of batteries or something stupid like that. So they did that well too. Let me see. I think Nick, you're next. I
Yeah.
like your shirt.
All right. So yeah, you guys said most of it, but like, yeah, this episode we saw budget. We really saw the budget. Like I was been waiting for like when it opens up and like, oh shit, like this. Am I watching Agents of Shield? Like, like it felt it was a whole other atmosphere. It's not like an aspect of the show we've seen at this point. So like it felt really refreshing and new, but it also was super connective and wrapped a lot of things up and took a lot of loose ends. So obviously we get the whole where in the timeline of the MCU this takes place. Like seeing the blimp stuff was awesome. Finding out that her that is it which that Rambo's mother is the one that
Maria.
started
Maria.
Maria,
Maria.
that
Yeah, Maria.
she started Sword. So then you get like this whole like, okay, Sword exists, she started it, so all that stuff from Captain Marvel like is like you see it like being built up, and like you know how like Nick Fury would have known who she was because of Sword, and all these things like make sense, and you're like, okay, okay. And then um like we got to see, she's that one girl is from the Thor movies.
Darcy. Darcy
Darcy's
Lewis.
from the Thor movies, and you have Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man, and then you get to see when they set up base and everything. My favorite thing is that they're watching the first two episodes. That she like
Yeah.
finds this radiation thing and sees that there's like a level, like a frequency over the frequency, and she like connects it and says, get me an old TV, not a flat one." Like, and then you see them like they've been advertising this like with posters and stuff, all these different TVs, like piecing together like the images since before the show came out, and now you see where that ties in. That you see them throughout like the episode, bringing more and more TVs through the into the like the makeshift like camp, and like there's TVs and TVs and TVs, and I'm like, oh, like all those images that they've been showing, all the promotional imaging is now like making sense. Like besides, like I thought it was just doing it because it's like an older themed show, but now it's like it makes sense. Like it finally made sense. And I'm like, oh, that's sick. And they're watching the shows and like analyzing the things that we've been analyzing. And like you said, like when Jimmy Woo was like, why hexagonal shapes? Like they're like all the things that people like the community have been pointing out and been asking about and been talking about were things that were also like they're like a special agency watching the stuff that we're watching go down the same way we were watching it and having the same questions. And I'm like, okay, haven't seen this yet, didn't expect this at all. um like we expect like we kind of like were able together come up with like a theory that kind of was right. Like there's a town that's being taken over by Wanda, and it's kidnapped people and dead Vision, which honestly I said it last week, but I didn't think they'd actually show us.
Round of applause for him.
Round of applause. Yeah.
I
Good job.
I didn't actually
job.
think that they would show us dead corpse Vision puppet. Like he's like that Flash where he's basically being like controlled and she's just floating there. Dude, did not see that. And you get to see what happens after that what's happening when we didn't see it at the end of episode 3. So that was really cool to see that. And like we thought the beekeeper guy was AIM, and then you see how that guy's like suit becomes the beekeeper thing when he goes through the thing. So now you know there's like a barrier, and when you go through it, you get like changed.
Right.
Like I thought that was so cool and answered a lot of my questions. While all of a sudden I look at my phone, I'm like, it's I'm gonna watch. It's done. The episode's over already. That's my only complaint for this whole episode is that it felt like the shortest episode. Because I thought like this was gonna be like a lead up, okay, 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 and then we're gonna get like a little bit of what's going on in there at that point. But we didn't get like any real new stuff inside that dome.
Right.
And that's what I was like, oh, okay. Damn, I wish we had another episode. Because I was so like now like I want to see what's going on then. Like now okay, all my questions outside the dome are answered. Now what's going on inside? It made me even
It's
more
like a positive
curious
negative.
for what's going on inside the freaking dome. Um but yeah, like I thought like obviously it's now modern filming, so all the like the classic film techniques they were using were so good, and now this is like modern. Like we see the budget, we see like this lines up with all the MCU stuff we've seen like until now, and I thought it was really good. Um, I got no real complaints besides the time length. Nuno, what you
All
got?
right, so yeah, man, episode 4 was really good. I love how we revisited Thanos' snap, kind of like everybody just popping up where they were snapped away, and we kind of get a feel of like overpopulation because she mentions like we don't have the capacity for this. So if a hospital doesn't have the capacity, probably Earth doesn't have the capacity at this point either. It's overpopulated everywhere, just people popping up. So I kind of like that we touched on there. And I loved when she was coming back. We heard Captain Marvel talking to her like it was an episode like from the movie when she was a little girl, and you heard the old girl, you heard her, you heard a bunch of voices, but I heard Captain Marvel because she was like little lieutenant or something like that, and that was super dope. I was like, oh, that's definitely Captain Marvel. I wasn't feeling the retconned sword. They was just thrown in there, and I don't like how they changed the weapons to what was it, world. They like changed the meaning of sword completely, kind of. So I wasn't feeling that. But it's good to see it in action and in play. Like it's really dope. I really love that. I do have a theory for the entire like everything that's going on with Sword. Also, I loved how we saw Maria Rambo's memorial, and in the middle it's Photon, and Photon is her daughter's superhero name in the comic book. So we already know what's gonna happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's super dope. Like, you know what I mean? I think me and Manny were talking about Westview and how it's connected to the Vision, or we were just referencing some points the other time we were talking because he read the comic, and it's in New Jersey, so it's kind of like the Vision comic. It's pretty cool. I love Jimmy Woo. I mean, I love them on Fresh Off the Boat. I love him on Marvel. He's like a original character. You know what I mean? I don't feel like Disney's really bending him too much. He's very original. I love that. I love the card trick because I was like, yo, what's going on? Like he's learning tricks, like he trying to be an Avenger himself, but it's from Ant-Man. So I'm glad that I got that reference point because I didn't get it last time. I did notice the card trick, but I didn't know it was from Ant-Man. I love Darcy. She was pretty dope. I kind of looked at her like in this episode, she represented us, the viewer. So she was like running through everything, decoding everything. So I really liked her little role. Like as corny as it was in my eyes, she had a cool role. And I love that she was like corny much, like, you know what I mean? So she was kind of like, what is that, a millennial or something? And the, the cosmic rays that are going on, that's the same thing that's going on with Fantastic Four, because that's referenced in Fantastic Four comics is what turns them into Fantastic Four, if I'm not mistaken, because the cosmic rays that Wanda is emitting from that dome. So that's like a nice little cosmic reference because as soon as I heard him say the cosmic rays, Like, I'm not gonna lie, I started looking up like the exact meaning, and the first things that started popping up were actual Fantastic Four references, and that's how I was like, I mean, it sounded familiar, but that's literally what I got from it. And I also loved like how we got to see like the little FBI board, even though we're dealing with like superheroes and like world-defying events. You got my boy Jimmy Woo just putting up like, you know, most wanted It looked like some cartel. You had Wanda and Vision with a bunch of like people around them, like who's the kingpin? You know what I mean? So I really like the like human aspect that Jimmy Woo brings to it. And the beekeeper, I got a whole nother theory for that because he's involved with swords. So I'll save that for later. The drones and like how they like did the transmissions of like, hey, we put in a brand new drone, but it was like a little helicopter toy. Very, very cool, very cool. Zombie Vision, I mean, he's literally like Nick said, like a little puppet, like, you know. And I think I told you guys, I thought it was funny how Ultron said like, you all have strings, you just don't see them, and she ends up actually putting strings on people, and she's actually controlling the strings, you know. So I just thought that was pretty crazy. But besides that, the episode was fire. It's headed in the right direction. One thing I didn't like though, guys, is I got the scene that I wanted from last week's episode. Remember, I said like her eyes are gonna turn all red and she like goes all crazy. But she went a little crazy, but I feel like she threw her like a Doctor Strange moment. Like she basically phased, not phased her. She launched her out the building, out the garage, out another bedroom, and then out the fence. I mean, I don't know unless Maria is photon already. I don't know about surviving that. Like she should be all broken. Like, and she went through it, because how we know it's not like imaginary is because Wanda starts putting it back together. So she did destroy a house. It's not like it was an imaginary house. So she did throw her through a house, and I just like, damn, like, how did she survive that? And she was like, because the scene is like, Marie's like, it's Wanda. Wanda did it all. I'm like, she's alive, man. She's alive. Okay. But that's about it. I'm going to pass it over to Matt. That's all I had. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Nuno. But to be honest, pretty much you guys have said everything that I wanted to say. But I will say this, though, because I was one of those first 2 episode haters, like, where is this shit going to? This is ridiculous. I can't take this. But I did know, and I did say that eventually it will kick in this show, but I didn't expect it this early. So it was just good to finally get the view of what's going outside this bubble. And like, well done to Nick and Carlo for nailing it on the head with our theories last week, getting it all right. I'm loving Jimmy Woo and Darcy's chemistry. I hope we get more of these two on the show. I absolutely love it. I love that how Jimmy Woo's kind of acting like what we are, like the way he was writing all the things on the board, like because I'm pretty sure it said scrolls was there. Scrolls involved, and I'm pretty sure he wrote AIM. I can't remember, but he wrote all these things that it was like he was acting out as one of us. Like Marvel knew what theories and what things we would be saying. So like, hey, let's make this character say all this stuff. So I really like that kind of view of it. But yeah, it was just good to see what the hell's really going on, man. Because I don't know if next week they're going to go back to back to the way it was, but at least now it might be more enjoyable and understandable because you know what's really going on now. But yeah, man, I haven't got much to say because you guys just took it all, said everything I wanted to say. So keep my review short. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. And I, like the same as you guys, my only downfall is these episodes go too short. Like 28 minutes is too short, and then waiting a week is too long. Like maybe release it every 3 days, but like you were saying, Carlos, it gives us time to process it all and figure out what's going on. But I just also liked all the shout outs that they done from, you know, Captain Marvel. I liked how we got a more serious view of the blip, where it was Homecoming we got the blip introduced to the blip in Spider-Man, wasn't it? And it was more of a comedy act, kind of, you know, the people running into each other. It was nice to get a more serious view of what the blip really did, like, you know, how her mum dies of cancer and she wasn't even there. So it was good to get that kind of side of the blip, and it was just good to get MCU, you know, proper stuff. Like it was more serious. It was less comedy, less cheesy. It was more serious. Had the jokes in there, which you get used to being Marvel. But yeah, Jimmy Woo, I reckon he's gonna be my new favorite character in this the whole of Marvel, man. I reckon he's got the talent. He's got the, you know, what I mean, like sometimes these characters, you can just see that their comedy act is just pushed on them and they're just trying too hard. Where this bloke, it just comes all naturally. So I'm looking. I really hope we get more him and Darcy because them two, they just work perfect. They're like Silent Bob and what's his name?
Jane Silent Bob.
Yeah, mate. Them two are like that. They just work perfectly together. So I hope we get more of them. But yeah, enjoyed it. Hopefully next week we get more. Got some good theories as well. So we'll head over to that section, I reckon, so we can start talking all the theories. Manny?
I'm doing this wave right here, so whenever you're editing, you can see it, right? But I just let it go off to like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, just because I didn't want to stop the roll. You guys were on a good roll. But I'll go ahead and do like the introduction real quick, and then I got a couple of things to say about what y'all said. What's up, Carl?
I do have a couple other points that I didn't mention that I do want to highlight and that I feel are important and just add to the overall
Let me do the introduction first, so you can say it for part two. That way, it won't be cut out.
Yeah,
right now this is going to be cut out. I'm assuming better be at least. No. Right, so, welcome to part two. This is 1 month later. So far, we've talked about what we've learned from episode 4. Everyone's talking about the introduction of Sword. If you want to say Shield, but introduction of Sword. Wanda finally kind of releasing her powers. Jimmy Woo is a fan favorite immediately. What else are we talking about here? Zombie Vision. Unfortunately, he pretty dead. One thing that everyone reminded me of was when Maria or is it Monica? I keep forgetting.
Maria's mom and Monica's the daughter we got.
Monica, when she went back to Sword, I don't know about you guys, but I was pissed when she tried to like sign in and the guy was like, can you come over here? And she's like, oh yeah, I work here. And he's like, well, if you worked here, you know, it would work, huh? And I was just like, why are you talking? Like, why are you so aggressive? And they just let it slide. That pissed me off. I don't know. It's just, I didn't like that. And what Darcy, that's another thing that everybody brought up is the return of Darcy. I love Darcy immediately just shutting up that chemical engineer guy. Just like nobody cares because like, we're not supposed to talk. But that was pretty funny. And what Nuno said about Monica just taking that hit, like is she broken right now? She should be. And the only way I can explain to myself that she's not like completely like her whole body's broken is that whenever Wanda pushed her aside, like Wanda broke everything and like to like allow Monica to just go through instead of like Monica being the one breaking through all the stuff because there's no way a regular human could survive all of that even if there was nothing in her way. Imagine being thrown that distance. Come on now, there's no way a human should be able to survive that, right? But now we're back. Part 2 is going to be mostly about our theories of where we think this is going, and I'm going to hand it off to Carlos.
Before I do get into my theory, there are just a couple things that I forgot to mention that are positives that I think add to the overall idea of what's happening with Wanda. And just quickly is when the show opens up and Jimmy Woo arrives to Westview when he's in search of the informant that's missing. The cops that are there, tell him that hey, there is no Westview that exists. It's called Eastview. And I think that just adds to the overall idea that not only is Wanda able to create different realities, but it's giving more legitimacy to the fact that she can actually affect reality itself and what's around it. And I thought that was just a great callback to her chaos powers. So I really enjoyed that, which takes me into one of the biggest theories that I have, and it actually has to do with the informant itself. because that's what took Jimmy to that town. And this seems to be an extremely important informant. I don't think that that was just thrown in there as a way to like get him. Yeah, to just be a coincidence that he arrives in a town where Wanda happens to be. I think that, and this is like a crazy theory, but we've gotten confirmation that Evan Peters is going to have some type of role within like the show. I think that potentially this informant can be Evan Peters, and that he has arrived in this universe, and it has something to do not just with what's happening with Wanda, but with the snap that Thanos, ended up, using with the Infinity Gauntlet. I think that snap also created a rift in reality, and what's happening with Wanda is only going to exponentially make it worse. And if that's the case, I think that that'd be an awesome way to introduce Evan Peters into the show, and I think that can potentially be that he's the informant. If not, my other theory is that Evan Peters is actually going to play Speed, and in the show, since we're basically jumping 10 years per episode, I think that he's gonna end up growing, and he's gonna end up being Speed, and this is gonna be our confirmation that there are alternate universes out there, because in the comics we see characters and heroes end up being the same person, but they're a different hero, or they end up taking a different identity. And I think that's going to be the first either Easter egg or hint or confirmation that the X-Men and other universes are out there, and that eventually Wanda's going to break reality, and we're going to see these different heroes in these different timelines. So that's the biggest theory that I have for that. And as far as not necessarily a theory, but just my idea of who the overall villain is gonna be, I do think that the overall villain is gonna end up being Wanda, but it's gonna give the introduction to Mephisto playing some kind of role in this. And I think that that's gonna open up the door. That's going to be the bridge between WandaVision and how Doctor Strange is going to end up, playing a part in his upcoming movie. Is that it's going to be, him trying to fix this disruption, I guess, in reality that Wanda is going to cause, along with Mephisto using this as an opportunity to, invade our world. That's what I got. Carlo, what do you got?
Real quick, Carlo, before you
Yep.
start, and I'm waving my hand. Every time I wave my hand, just know that you're gonna edit this out. But you guys see the chat right now?
Yeah.
Like people are saying that they hate WandaVision or something. Like not the chat on Zoom, but the chat on Twitch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't look at that. Oops.
Because there's a couple people, like one guy said he hates WandaVision just because he felt that it was like a watered down version of Iron Man 2. I think that what I'm going to do here is at the end when we're done with all the plots, I'll read whatever's here. I made sure to let people know that they can put in whatever theories that they think is going to happen, and we can just read them off at the end if we have any. So if you're watching this right now, feel free to blow up that chat. We'll definitely get to it as soon as everyone else gets through their theories and stuff like that. But other than that, Carlo, take it away.
All right, yeah, I'd like to backtrack as well. I did think about, wait, if Monica's thrown through that wall, is it bad enough to kill her? So I thought about it too much. So you got plywood, drywall, some books in the bookshelf. It's like maybe like when she landed on the grass, maybe it's like she didn't want to kill her, so she like kind of like thought impacted her. But yeah, it's something trivial. So some theories that I have is that, so we agree that there has to be a villain. So if we go the Wanda Dark Phoenix route, it'll be like her. I totally agree with Carlos that Mephisto will be like the real villain. You know how like in Black Panther, my shirt in Black Panther you have the white. I'm not White Claw, just Claw. Everybody thinks that's a villain, but then later you find out that Killmonger's a villain. So I think it's gonna go that route where like, oh my gosh, Wanda's a villain, but then she's not. It's Mephisto, or if we go the no, let me finish that. So if it does go that route, I think Wanda will use Maria Rambo, like a zombie version of her, to get to Monica's mind. And like, look, this is your mom; she's half dead, and then Monica will be and I think that'll be cool because everybody enjoyed Zombie Vision, and I think they're going to use another like zombie version of somebody else, and Maria Rambo would be perfect. Maybe some reference to her cancer or some other tie-in as well, because like everything is like zombie, like deceased and Marvel zombies, and it's like cool. It's in right now. Everybody likes that, so that's my theory on that. Or if we go like Monica as a villain, maybe she'll transform into Photon and team up with somebody else. Because if you put Scarlet Witch against Photon, obviously Scarlet Witch is going to win. So Photon is gonna probably say, "Hey, Sword, I need some backup. I need some gear or something because Wanda's gonna kick my ass again. So hook me up with some like super guns or whatever it may be." So there's that, and also yeah, Jimmy Woo, like everybody loves him, so I think he's gonna have a more prominent role. I'm not sure what's gonna happen with him yet. And Captain Marvel is gonna do that cameo I talked about earlier. We had her voice; it was confirmed in the closed caption. It said Captain Marvel, so it was her voice, and I think she'll make a better cameo appearance later on down the road. You know how you have like a first soft first appearance in the comic books, where it's like a half-ass first appearance, and then the next issue is like the full-blown cover first appearance or whatever you have. So there's that. Nick, you're up.
All right, so you guys did a really good job, but there's so many theories, and I'm gonna try to narrow it down. I'm only gonna talk about a couple. So, what I think they're gonna do, or what I think they could do, obviously, like you said with Evan Peters, I think that's a very plausible thing. I think we're gonna see teenage Speed and Wiccan real soon, and I would see because I always thought that Evan Peters in the X-Men movies looked more like Speed than Quicksilver, with like the long hair and all that stuff, and the way he acts and the goggles, and didn't look as much as Pietro as he does,
Speed.
Speed. And I think
Yeah.
okay, that's a perfect thing that could so now that we have more of the MCU references, I'm thinking that like this is going to start moving pretty quickly. So obviously they need my one theory is to get into the dome because it's altering reality and people's perception, people's minds. They use this to bring in Professor X to get him in because now they have they have a government. They have a government access at this point. Now we have a government organization that's pretty under the radar that people don't know about, that would know things that other people don't know because of satellites and all sorts of shit. And
That would be
obviously, because
bold.
they're in space and they know about the scrolls, they probably know about the Kree and the freaking Shi'ar, so they probably know about mutants,
Nick, that would be ballsy, man.
right? So like that's how they
Marvel,
get into the because
Marvel, you cowards, do it.
the other thing I would say is that everyone's saying, "Oh, Mephisto, who's the villain going to be?" I think this is leading in to a secondary villain story of bringing Ultron back,
Agreed.
because that could be because in the comics, all the WandaVision main stories that have always gone on, Ultron's always the villain, and Ultron always comes back.
He's sprinkled everywhere.
He always comes back because he's a robot. You could rebuild him, But that's the same thing with Vision. So now I also think that in that concept of they have to get in. So they're gonna pull people in. So I'm hoping that in this theory they build their own version of like the Defenders, like a secondary like B list Avengers kind of squad, like a secret Defenders. You know, they enlist a bunch of people to go in, like people that could with skills that aren't on radars that people won't know if something goes wrong. Go in there and try to fight Wanda or try to calm her down or something. And someone, because you have all these scientist people in these tents and shit. Maybe someone's creating Ultron. Maybe we see like some like former Nazi guy that they pulled in and they didn't see him in the opening scene, and he's there and he's like, "Oh, I got this," and all of a sudden Ultron takes over. But because Vision is a robot, you could bring him back. I know they use the stone
The Mind
as the
Stone.
reasoning why Vision was a thing to begin with, but this is a perfect reason to bring Vision back in his normal form and use like a human host, someone like Wonder Man, a character that maybe he comes in to do something and then he gets thrown out also, and they just use him to bring Vision back to go in there and stop this. So that's a couple of the theories I said. My other very like things that aren't possible is that if they use this show to make the Netflix series canon, which they wouldn't, but if they called on heroes like that with brute force to go in there and try to take her on, that would be sick. But it would make it really canon because of you're using a weird like no one knows that Sword exists except for Sword, and the fact that it's never been really mentioned up until this point, and we've seen so many movies. And have you seen the Sword symbol since? No. Before this? No.
Especially during the invasion, right?
Like yeah. So Sword didn't even
Avengers
step
1.
in there. So there's a lot. That opens the huge door for tons of weird things that you didn't think were possible to happen. Like no one thought Zombie Vision was going to be a thing, and they did Zombie Vision. Like no one thought that there was going to be a huge camp of people around this place in New Jersey, but like no, this proves that everyone around New Jersey doesn't know any of this is going on because they were there when Wanda got there, and it makes sense that Wanda would leave New York, go there, have a mental breakdown, and everyone's there, and no one knows it is happening, and no one in this area. So a lot of this makes it plausible that in this universe that theory is possible for an X-Men sort of thing. So it's possible to make a whole area unaware of everything that's going on. So they're answering a lot of questions. I don't know what they're gonna do. I for sure know that we're gonna see Speed and Wiccan, and that's gonna be really complicated because as cool as everyone wants to see, like Peter Evans as Speed, Wiccan's the more powerful character.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really interesting to see a really powerful character that could take on Scarlet Witch inside of her illusion.
Oh, yeah.
So
That'd be dope.
as he speeds up, if he realizes what's going on, he could really fuck with what she's creating and take her on. And that could be a really climactic thing where she becomes a villainess, but I don't think they'll ever perceive her as a real villain like they did with M Day. She's a villain because she did something wrong, but she never does this stuff intentionally. She does this stuff defending herself from reality.
She's breathing. You can't be a villain for breathing.
And
So
and Nick, with this, especially feeling even more confident than ever that we are going to see Speed and we are going to see Wiccan. And since you mentioned Wiccan, I feel even more positive how about what you first mentioned a couple weeks ago, and we touched on it, that this could be a great future intro to the Young Avengers, especially
Yes.
because we got Kate Bishop obviously coming, right? So we got Kate Bishop, we got Wiccan already. It wouldn't be that much of a stretch to start bringing in all the other characters throughout the different shows. We know that in the Loki show, if we do see Kid Loki, he could be a more permanent iteration or sorry addition to the Young Avengers
They
since he
they
was
could
with them
easily
for a bit
use
in the comics.
Winter Soldier
You
and
know,
Falcon to introduce someone
um,
like Patriot.
exactly. Patriot, all of that stuff, man. And then we're obviously gonna have a big storyline coming regarding the scrolls. Coming. We've already been introduced to the Kree. Somehow, Hulkling could come in.
Well,
So
we saw the scrolls in Captain Marvel, right?
yeah, no. Yeah,
So
what I mean is they're gonna be playing a larger role in the MCU, so we could totally see Hulkling coming. But I think this could be like the first little breadcrumbs or like sprinkles, I guess, for the Young Avengers. I just wanted to touch on that because you first mentioned
yeah, I
the
really
Young
think
Avengers
that with
couple
that
episodes.
being a possibility, Young Avengers becomes a doorway because of Speed and Wiccan, because they exist now. They have the names. It's Billy and Tommy. They exist, and this, like you guys said, it speeds up. Like every episode's a 10-year jump. So, you know, yeah. But in a couple episodes, we're gonna have teenage versions of them. All right, Nuno, take it.
Hey,
Real
hey,
quick,
so
before you start, hold on. I got to do the introduction again. um, Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 3, or part 3 of WandaVision review, episode 4. Just a quick wrap up. We've had Carlos, Carlo, and Nick talk about their possible theories. Carlos is thinking about Evan Peters, how he's going to come into this. Carlos said something about Captain Marvel. She's definitely going to make an appearance, and how Shield and Sword are going to create weapons out of this. I think that's the gist of what you were saying, right, Carlo?
Right.
Cool. And then we have Nick, who's talking about how they can use Vision to bring in Wonder Man, how Wanda is going to be seen not as a villain or maybe as a villain, who knows what. Basically, what we have here is a bunch of questions that I want to ask after everyone's done. But we're on to Nuno and his possible theories, and then we'll go to Matt.
yeah, I'll keep it quick because I know we've been eating up time, but I feel like everything that we learned in this episode is beautiful and amazing, but it doesn't debunk all of our theories that we've been talking about. I feel like we just need to circle back onto them because I think they're all right. Sword is being run by either Hydra or AIM. Her security clearance ain't working.
Oh, I think
Clearances don't change. We know with Nick Fury, his clearance is like the same wherever he goes. He's on the run and his clearance still works with like some code. We know that no secret initiative has been dropped. Like, oh, if an agent goes missing, he can't go on to extraterrestrial missions because you were raised there. You know the codes your mom put in place. This imaginary code that popped up 5 years when you've been missing or she's been dead is this random guy telling you this. But so yeah, the whole organization is being run by AIM or Hydra. I love how their suits, when they're going underneath, Agent Nick or whatever his name is, it's yellow. I mean, I'm just saying it could have been white, it could have been any other color. They're yellow. He's wearing a yellow suit. So that's one theory. And then I still want to stick to the swarms theory because from all the suits he could have made, why didn't he come in a big scuba outfit or something like a 50s, like, you know what I mean? He came in a B outfit. I mean, in a sense, maybe she just made a villain, like she just made Swarm, you know what I mean? So I'm not debunking that. So the whole operation's being run by either Hydra or because look at everyone. The one that came to the doctor, the girl, the scientist, and he was like a thug. Like he reminds me of all the Hydra goons, you know. So the organization's being run by some cricket-like guys, that's for sure. I think that Monica will end up. What happened?
I said, I love how confident you are when you say that. You're just like,
Yeah, because I think it was like I think we all said that, but I think Carl or someone said it like is definitely being run by someone else, or they're like because they said someone is monitoring the broadcast, like as in like someone is watching the entire thing and letting you see what you want to see. Why would Wanda let you see what you want to see? That's someone else monitoring the broadcast and letting them see what he wants them to see. So it's like Ultron, like he's in the computers or something, like chopping up the videos, because it's clearly playing, because we go into the TV and the footage is there. Like everything is being played out except someone cut it out, and it's not Wanda. So I feel like that's another play factor of who the villain is. He's manipulating the equipment there and letting them see what you want to see. Um, as far as Monica goes, I think that she ends up in some way or sorts absorbing some kind of energy and turning into photon, because we know there's like these energy discharge, or she ends up like sacrificing herself to like eat this power up or something, and it ends up turning her into this superhero, because we know that she can absorb, photon can absorb power, energy blast, and she can fly through space and time and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Like she got some dope powers. So that's that right there. As far as anything else goes, I just think all of our theories from last week, this episode kind of almost debunked them, but I think we're still like solid, because we still just need to remember, like, Hydra commercials. Like, come on, like, just because they showed a sword doesn't mean now, oh, everybody's a good guy. Something is not right there. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me. I'm gonna pass it on to Matt so he can wrap up this theory section of the.
Mate, I'm still, and I volunteered to go last because you just took my thunder, Nuno. I'm going to add on to something. I'm going to add on to something. I agree, because I just took some notes here. I agree that Evan Peters, I reckon he's going to be speed, not going to be the Quicksilver. I agree on that.
Can I ask? I'm sorry, Matt. No one answered this. Who's the other actor going to be for the other brother?
I don't know.
They haven't said anything yet.
Yeah. What does he look like, Matt? Do you know what the character now?
No
He's
idea.
He's like a brunette, like average looking guy.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know what? They did say that Chris Evans is coming back for another role, so maybe he could do
double.
How does it get?
I'm sorry, Matt. I just wanted to ask.
He can pull off a teenager. To be honest with you,
not another teenage movie, right? He did that. He can do it. It's fine.
And the other thing is, the things with TV shows, movies that people don't pay attention to is you're introduced to the villain within the first 1, 2, 3 episodes at most. And I reckon we have got, I'm going to call it, because Sword, the new leader guy, the new runner of it, he works for fucking Hydra. He works for Hydra, because we don't hear anything about Hydra and all that. And obviously we get the Hydra commercial ads, right? And the skipping of the video and all of that happens after they set up camp, right? So I really think Sword, this leader of Sword, is working with Hydra, and they're trying to get control of Wanda, or what they're doing is they're building Ultron, like you guys were saying, because he says that they're not worrying about the science, the space stuff at the moment, that they're more on armor and guns, and I'm pretty sure that's what he says when they're walking into the bunker, that they're focusing more on like nanomites and all that
technology.
Yeah, building technology. So therefore, I reckon this guy from Sword
building
actually working for Hydra, and they're building. What Nick said is they're building Ultron.
Ultron
so Hydra's
Mark,
now trying to
did they give him a mark when they in
Ultron
the movie?
Prime.
I don't know about Marvel. I don't know much about Marvel comics because I'm more reading DC. But
in the movie, was he just Ultron, or was he Ultron Mark something?
Ultron. No, he's Ultron.
No, he's just Ultron, so he can.
So we're gonna get a Mark II. We're gonna get a Mark II. We're gonna get Ultron Mark II.
Or like an Ultron.
I reckon this guy from Sword is building. He's working for Hydra, and they're building another Ultron because Hydra want to get him to help them take over the world. That is, but I reckon this leader 110%. If I'm wrong, I'll do whatever dare you guys dare me. I reckon he's a bad guy.
I had a feeling about that too.
No.
Yeah. Or Matt, you know what? Building real quick on what you said, a possible theory, because we had talked about I can't remember who mentioned it first, but that Hydra and AIM are going to be working together.
Oh, I think I said that.
Yeah, Nick.
And he works for AIM, and he's one there, but he's the bad guy, and then I reckon they set up. Now that I didn't think of Ultron until Nick, you brought it up, but I reckon that's what they're doing.
You know what? A theory, a way of how AIM and Hydra are going to be working together, or they're at least, they each organization has their own goals, but they're going to end up working together. Is that Hydra is in it, like I mentioned before, to try and get control of Wanda, because originally she was their project, so they want to get her. And Sword, the new director, Tyler Hayward, I got a bad feeling from him the moment that he was
the
moment
it makes sense because Shield was being controlled by Hydra, so why wouldn't any other organization like that have like an in?
Exactly, and he is not going to be Hydra. He's actually going to be AIM
because it's technology based.
Because of the whole technology portion, and they're trying to build Ultron. And this is how they're gonna bridge, Hydra, which is Wanda, Ultron, which he, tried to recruit. He did recruit Wanda and Pietro during Age of Ultron. And like how you mentioned, Nick, Ultron has always played some kind of role with Vision and Wanda every single time. And the last part of my theory is that Ultron originally created Vision.
Yes.
So a way that we can potentially get Vision back is that if Ultron is introduced, he's the one that's gonna rebuild Vision.
A new body. I think we're gonna get White Vision. I think we're gonna get White Vision from the 90s.
Exactly. And he's gonna build him in a new body, and that's how we're gonna get the reintroduction of Vision. Building on what you said, Matt, and what you said, Nick.
Then we're gonna get purple people marching through the street, the little Oompa Loompas marching through the streets saying, "Hey, mate, quality."
Also, because you guys brought up AIM, I think they're gonna use that to introduce a bunch of like Hulk villains for the She-Hulk show.
But now that you mentioned that, if you look at Director Hayward's head, he kind of either looks like MODOK or he looks like the leader. I don't know. Man.
Oh my god, if he's the leader, if he's the freaking leader, then it all makes sense, dude. You could, but if he was the leader, it had to be pre-powers because he would have just been able to walk in there and shut her down.
No, he's gonna. If he's gonna be the leader, he's gonna have to go through some kind of gamma accident.
Because if he was leader, he would just go, or if he was already MODOK, he'd be able to just go in there and shut her down.
Man,
because those are two like telepathic guys that would be able to just.
Yeah.
One of the things that Nuno mentioned as well was the whole broadcasting. I read something about anytime that right now Wanda is controlling Vision, but I don't think she's controlling him as like a puppet or anything. She's just using her power as a reality bender
to reanimate his body.
Reanimate it, and as soon as she like lets down her power, he'll be dead or whatever. But right now, because he is technically still alive or whatever because of her, and he realizing that something's going off, he's the one that's broadcasting that frequency because he does have that power. He is a technological whatever. So
I think every time it comes back to like how she said that she was from Ultron, Geraldine, and that, and she came back to the real world. She then seen Vision straight after. That's the first time she sees him after being notified about the real world. So he turned into the zombie. So then reality kind of came back to her. That's why she saw it like that, and that's why I think she fast forward the guy when he came out of the sewer and that, because she knows then once she sees normal reality, she then sees Vision as zombie Vision.
That's what I was saying earlier. Is that I think that she's so deep in denial that once anything from the outside world comes in, she remembers everything that's going on. She pushes it out and goes back into denial and doesn't know that she's creating her own reality at this moment. But right now,
one question about that though, Manny, is that at the end of
that's what I was about to say.
Isn't she standing by the water saying they're in happy places and she was happy? Like, what's made her all of a sudden?
So I was actually going to ask that, but to finish what I was saying though is that at the end of this episode, she did say, like, no, Vision, we can't go back. This is our home. So now I'm thinking she knows what she's doing 100%, and she's just going to continue being like the villain, whatever. But that's a good question. My first question after talking with you guys is, what do you guys think happened between ending and the 3 weeks later when they're at that Westview? what happened to Wanda from Endgame, where she was like, "I'm gonna kill Thanos," and she's powerful and she's in control and she's fine. The battle finishes. So what could have caused it to go so bad that she goes to New Jersey, she gets to Westview, she has Vision's dead body most likely. What happened?
That's what I think.
Okay.
I got Mephisto trying to manipulate her and take over her. That's
Yeah.
the only other thing I could think of.
Screw Mephisto. I'm so sick of these Mephisto theories because I don't
He's coming.
like Mephisto. I don't want him to be involved in
for
this.
everything.
He's not
Mephisto's
an
responsible
Avengers
for everything.
villain. All right, let me be real. First off, if it is Vision's actual body, she's been sleeping with Vision's dead metal body,
Yep.
which is just strange.
Absolutely. But what happened in between?
So my theory for that, what I'm gonna try to say, that I think thinking of how they could write this is that because we see her after Endgame, right? We see her, she's like trying to cope with it, but we all know as a character, Wanda isn't the most stable because of her past and the shit she goes through and her powers. She is not the most stable person. So she gets, I'm assuming she packs up to leave and takes Vision's body because she's gonna bury it.
Right.
But when she gets to this place where she's going to move, they like in the first episode where they pull up to the house. I think she bought a house, whatever, and she was gonna like bury the body or create a monument or whatever. But she has like this something happens on her way to the house, or something happens where she gets there and she snaps. Maybe she on the radio they talked about Ultron, or they talked about the snap, or you know.
Maybe it's Mephisto whispering in her ear.
Yo, screw Mephisto. I'm not doing this. On this podcast, on this Twitch cast, we are doing a no more Mephisto mentioning ever. He's banned.
I was thinking, I was more thinking that in those 3 weeks she goes sees Doctor Strange. That's when you get the Doctor Strange movie, Madness in the Multiverse. And in between that, like she goes and sets up her own reality because of what she learned, that nothing is possible. And while she's doing that, the Multiverse Madness Doctor Strange movie's happening because she's probably trying to figure out all the ways of because he wasn't snapped back and nothing worked. So we said that Doctor Strange gonna be tied into it. She definitely got to go to Doctor Strange then, probably in that 3 week period, and maybe that's where his movie branches out. Like his movie starts off with her coming to see him, them doing something, and her just like disappearing, and that's the WandaVision show. And the movie we just keep watching as the Multiverse Madness.
Well, she knows that he can't snap back because, first off, he's
Like, let me do this last part 4, and then I'll go back to you, Nick. But welcome back, guys. This is part 4 of WandaVision, episode 4 review. Right now, we're talking about questions that we have that we want to see answered with these next couple. That was episode 4, right? So that means we have 5 more episodes. So right now, the question is what happened in between from the end of Endgame to the beginning of WandaVision. What happened to Wanda to make her create this reality? And Nuno was saying that he thinks that she went to Doctor Strange, and that's going to be part of like the setup for the movie. And when Wanda learned about all these different realities, she probably got the idea to create her own, right? So, and then Nick had something to say here, so I'll give it to Nick.
So as I was thinking, something clicked. So obviously he can't be snapped back because he's an inanimate object, and he was killed when the gem was ripped out of his head. So when the Infinity Stone was ripped out of his head, obviously Vision is just a body. So in the 3 weeks after, I think she took the body and tried to find someone that could bring Vision back. I retcon everything I said, but she was going to that town because there's someone there, and that person worked for AIM, and then the shit went down.
Okay.
And she was trying to bring it to AIM to get rebuilt, and then that guy's working on Ultron, and boom,
That's
there.
The informant. That's the informant
for
Jimmy.
Is an AIM agent.
That's trying to rebuild Vision.
That's trying to rebuild Ultron and gets Vision's body, and when something happens or she sees Ultron and she freaks out and causes this whole
we already got Nick 1 for 1, so you guys heard it here first.
Dude, I'm just voting out every theory I can possibly do, hoping that something sticks on the wall.
That's what I mean. We throw out about 100 theories. One of them's got to be fucking right.
One of them's gotta be right. That's how we got last week.
So my next question, though, before we go to any of your questions, is you guys keep bringing up Speed and Wiccan. My question with that is, yeah, these kids were born. So were these kids are these kids part of the kidnapped part of the town? That way I would understand, and she made them her own kids. Like, kind of weird.
She pushed them out.
Did she though?
I don't think anyone would want to fake childbirth.
I'm just saying.
I think they might. I think that's what the comic book might be, that they're like born to other parents when she really kidnapped them. So I think that's how it's gonna play in. And they're like her kids, but she kidnapped everyone, so the babies are kidnapped too.
Or it is just like in the comic books, and they are created from Mephisto, Nick.
Fuck you guys.
Hey, Mary got pregnant with Jesus without doing anything, so maybe she's got some miracle like that.
Maybe she's God.
Maybe she's gonna fight Mephisto, God and the devil.
Why not babies? Like, she has that type of power.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's just weird if she's creating a different reality. If these kids did not exist before she made this new reality, so how can they be existing after she?
Well, I reckon they're already in the city, and that, what's his name? The guy that plays Quicksilver in X-Men, he's a person from that city.
And she reverted him back to a baby to do whatever. That's kind of weird, but whatever. No, I don't know. That's my question, but I think
so. For that, no, honestly, for that, I really think that it is just like in the comic books that after this. After this reality is, and this dome is taken down, Wanda did just create them, from nothing, because she has the ability to, again, affect
power.
Yeah, she has the ability to create and manipulate reality, and it really
she
is
can
her.
Literally do anything, like anything.
Literally do anything. So it's just her. It's just her, bringing these her children.
She can create people, and she can wipe out half of a civilization.
Did you know? Did you know that the beekeeper guy is actually the ice cream serving guy?
Damn, Nick loves Wanda much, huh? Dude, try to die for Wanda, Nick.
It's just based off like the facts. Like, if they're gonna keep this, like, because the MCU has been so good with keeping things factual, like, as much as you can. Like, they've been so good in, like, things that happen or things that are tied so close to the comics. I feel like if they're gonna go power set, she, in the comics, she said no more mutants, and so many people lost their powers, and people died and stopped existing,
and one thing that I do want to mention, and I guess this is a theory, and we're now talking about questions, but talking about this, and how is it that these kids are going to exist out of the dome and all of that, and Wanda's ability to affect reality. I think that a possible way in which Vision can, a bunch of things, in which Vision can come back, in which Speed and Wiccan are created, all of this stuff, Ultron, as well, is that it goes back to how Wanda got her powers. She got her powers from, again, experimentations from Von Strucker, based off of the Mind Stone. Wanda in herself is a creation of the Mind Stone, and I think that,
the Reality Stone, isn't it?
Wait, sorry, what?
Reality Stone.
Reality Stone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Wasn't it the Mind Stone as well?
I know Vision is Mind Stone 100%, but like her power, she got that red looking thing. I'm pretty sure that's the ether.
No, it was also from the Mind Stone.
I guess we all have to go read Ultron right now. We have to go watch Age of Ultron to find out, because I can't.
Yeah, but No, but it is the Mind Stone as well. I think that her connection to the Mind Stone is going to give her the ability to somehow, I don't know, either reforge the Mind Stone to be able to bring Vision back, or that, because of that connection to the Mind Stone, she'll be able to somehow, again,
I
bring
don't
Vision.
I don't. You know what? That'd be pretty good. I like that because if she brings back the Mind Stone, now that sets up the problem that the ancient one said in the fact that there's only one stone in this universe now because all the others are destroyed. So if she
Exactly.
brings back the Mind Stone, is she gonna have to actually bring back all the stones as well? Because we do know from the comics, like the recent run of like Infinity, whatever, um, the Infinity Gems always return. They
They're
always
like the
return.
Dragon Balls.
Yeah, exactly. This may come back. Yeah, exactly. Like she's gonna get her wish of Vision, and then they're gonna return. There you go. But I like that. That's pretty cool. Do you guys have any questions that you want to see answered?
Nah, I thought it was a solid episode and solid wrap up and review of the episode. I got a bunch of new info from you guys. I loved it. I mean, loved everybody's input, man. It was epic.
I hope
So,
she becomes
Carlos, you gave it a
photon.
10 last week. What do you give it this week? 11?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Start with Manny. Let's do that.
25 out of 10.
25 out of 10.
$25.
Put that money in my hand, though, man.
For sure is an 8.5. Like when we were watching it, when we started watching WandaVision, I didn't think my wife would want to watch it, so I watched it by myself in the morning. Then in the afternoon, she decided to watch the first episode. She loved it. So now I'm still doing it. I'm still watching it twice in the same day. When we were watching the last part where I knew Zombie Vision was going to come up, but I didn't tell her anything or anything like that. She audibly gasped. She was like, "Oh my!" Like she got so scared. I laughed and everything, but then like she was like really sad for Wanda. Like I didn't even like to me. I saw this and I was like, oh, Wanda's a villain, blah blah. That's all I see her as. My wife immediately was like, oh my god, I feel so sad for her. Like she's grieving. Like she's like, that's so sad. Like and it is sad if you really think about it. Like if you want to look at it that way, take away the.
Your wife is a better person than you, Manny. She's got feelings, bro.
I was like, oh, she's the villain. Get her. Put her down.
I feel bad for Vision, boy. My boy was like, okay, let's do this with the baby. Like, okay.
So I give it a 8.5. It was really good. Like it could have been longer, and that's literally the only issue I had. 8.5. Carlos.
Guys, you know that I've been a champion of the show from the beginning. I gotta give this one a 9.5, just because I thought it was executed. I thought it was executed so well, from the blip, bringing in connections to the MCU, um, really boosting the appeal and the great use of C characters, um, answering questions that we all had. The production value of this episode was amazing, and it leaves you wanting more. Um, so overall, I thought that this episode was great. The half a point that I deducted from this is because it was too short, but it but it's a good problem to have. Again, it was just a little jarring on how so much action happened and the way that it left off. But overall, 9.5. Loved it. Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Yep. Carlo, what do you got, man?
I'm gonna copy you and say 9.5 as well. Not 10 because it's not perfect. Yeah, we all agree it's not long enough, but hey, that's what we get. So we should be grateful. And yeah, Nick.
I'm gonna go with like a 7.5, 8.
7.5. Man. Go ahead.
Because
That's
I'm
honest
I'm
score.
hoping that something happens in the future that rocks my socks off. I'm gonna give it that space because I want something to exceed it. I want, like, in my mind, a 10 is something even better than this.
Yeah.
Like like this is great. Like I'm trying, like, with all my stuff. Like, and I used to rate my comics. I used to like give everything like an 8, everything a 9. And I'm like, no, you gotta lower the standards. You gotta give things lower reviews so that when something really blows your mind, it earns that, and it really said because if this episode's a 9, and then next week they bring in every Avengers character from the movie, they
Then we
it breaks the
retcon this
scale.
episode. We retcon this episode like Disney, and you know what I'm
Because,
saying?
you
It
know what I'm
gets
saying?
deleted
Like,
off Instagram.
if something
We do
crazy happens,
we
like
do a post review again of this episode.
So this
so that's why I'm
episode, we're
gonna
gonna
say
give it a 5
7 and a
because
half,
we know the
8.
next
Like
one's gonna be crazy.
I can't really decide if it's an 8 or if it's a 7.5. Obviously the late, like obviously it's a TV show, so it's not gonna be long. But I wish it was a little bit longer. I feel like it went by really quickly, and like I got a lot of information really quickly. But at the end, I was like, wait a minute, that's it? Like I was, and I had to wait a week, and I like it didn't answer anything, which kind of got me all screwed up.
I feel you, Nick.
What?
No, I said I feel you. I get it.
And then there's like just things that I think that could have been added or like adjusted that could make it a little bit better. But basically, I think it's a perfect episode, and I think it's up there. It's that 7.5, 8 range is like where all shows should be, especially when like I personally didn't like the first 2 episodes. Like I gave them like 4s. Like, oh, we're good. I
Nobody listening. You gave who a 4? Who?
it's aim. Yeah. 7.5, 8, leaning towards the 8.
Nice.
So Nuno.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give it a 7.5. It's been progressing throughout this whole time. I can guarantee the growth of it. So I definitely want to enjoy the growth and look back on the videos that we did and say, wow, I went from like a 3 out of 10 to like it's a 10 out of 10 show. So maybe as a whole, like a Chronicle watched as a whole, it'll be a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, maybe, as a whole, like all together. Don't just watch each single episode. So this one's 7.5, and I see it just improving unless they mess up something, but I don't think they will. Matt?
Nice.
Yeah, I'm saying 7.5, but I go with Nick's theory, man. Like that's why I don't jump the gun, even though it'll be an awesome episode. I won't say 10 because how do you know another episode is not going to be as good? But to be honest, I've never ever gave a film or a TV show a 10 out of 10. I just don't think there's such thing as a perfect score in like film and TV
Clockwork
shows.
Orange is a 10. Fight me on it.
The boys is like 9.5 out of 10.
No, the boys I'll get 9.5. Like I'll go 9.5.
Go watch Clockwork Orange
As
and
soon
tell
as
me
I
that
said the
movie
boys,
isn't a
he's
10.
like, yep, 9.5, 10. Yep.
The thing is, everyone has different taste. Everyone has like this show was a fucking 2, 3 back the first 2 episodes. I was like, I'm not gonna waste my 28 minutes of my life.
Hey, imagine Homelander. Imagine Homelander on that little set right there that they had, that little scientist. He would have just came in there, like just flew in there real quick, started zapping everybody.
That's the thing. It's hard to rate, like especially like Marvel, because obviously watching DC majority of the time, and stuff like the boys and that. Like I like the dark gritty stuff. So, but yeah, 7.5 for me. I feel that this show's got a lot more to come. I really think the last episode is going to make Doctor Strange sell more tickets than what it would have without this show. Or whatever show this ties into, that movie is going to make a lot of ticket sales. And I think that's what they're going to start doing with all these shows, is that build them up into making you buy tickets to the movies.
Like prequel movies, little prequel movies. I like that.
Yeah, it's what it is. So that you go, because Doctor Strange obviously didn't sell much. This Doctor Strange now, I bet you will sell way more than the first one. That's what their plan is. But 7.5. I think we got to. I just hope next week we're not like going back to the 50s, 60s, maybe the 80s or 90s, wherever they're up to. But
Halloween.
It's going to be hard to eat that.
Oh, yeah, I hope we get that Halloween episode soon.
I think Halloween. It should be Halloween next because it's only 5 episodes. 5. What is that? 5 steps to grieving or whatever. So hopefully we see some of that involved too. Her getting over some stuff.
I hope the next episode splits it a little bit. We get glimpses of outside and inside the dome.
Yeah, me too.
Like
They
there was no
established
commercials this
first
episode.
now.
That's another thing that screwed me up. There was like no commercials or references to the commercials at all.
There was
that's
just
because
that
they
guy
were
putting on the
listening.
tuxedo in the mirror, and it cut it off the commercial.
That's right.
I think the hydro cuffs or something.
Right.
And well, in that case, no more questions or anything. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure to follow on Twitch. Make sure that you go to YouTube and you like, you subscribe, send it to all your friends. Check us out on our own little Instagrams. Nick is on Twitch as well. Is anybody else doing their Twitch still? Have they started?
Yeah.
Not yet. Okay. Well, y'all
I
will
want to.
same way. I'm like, I'll start sometime soon. But either way, that was a great episode. That was a lot of good theories here. I really like the bringing Ultron back, like Mark II Ultron thing. Sword being run by Hydra or AIM. That was so confident, man. You said that so confidently, and now I believe it for sure. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
We all called it. We all called it as a group. I mean, I think it was Carlos or Carlo that mentioned something, and me and Nick elaborated, and Matt was talking about it too. I think we all said it as a whole, man.
But you made the statement. You made it happen.
A statement heard here first on these.
Oh, we need
six
heads up because if we
segments.
keep being right, we might get pulled off social media.
But other than
They might not like us.
I
These
want
little bastards, they got an insider.
the next episode to start off showing Monica in a hospital bed completely broken because there's no way that she could have just gone out of that without no scratch.
Got a
But
blood nose. A little bit of a blood nose.
right, yeah, some kind of blood or something. But other than that, we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate you for tuning in here. All right, see y'all later.
There, guys.